Okay, so let's talk about top words and big reading. And key questions for self-quizzing before and after are here. How many words do English learners need to know? Basic question. And what words do learners need to learn first? Also basic question. What percent of the words in a text must you know to read for pleasure or with no dictionary? And what is extensive reading and why and how do you do it? So let's begin with this idea of word power. How many words do adult educated speakers know? Take a guess. Probably around 20,000 English words. And how many English words are there? Well, depending on how you count, it's between 100,000 and 1 million. For example, are teach, teacher, teaching, and taught the same word or 4 words? And depending on how you count those, if it's 1 word, the total number will go down. If it's 4 words, the total number goes up. And what is the optimal vocabulary size, the best vocabulary size for an English learner? Well, if you want to be advanced and maybe go to study abroad in an English-speaking country, like the beautiful country of New Zealand, for example, you might want to know 8,000 to 9,000 English words as a second language learner of English. This number, 9,000, gives you 98% coverage of almost all texts. And so we have this issue of coverage and what it is, and I'll explain that in a bit. But as you know, 9,000 of 100,000 words, you're getting close to superior level. And this brings up the idea of coverage. So here's 100,000 words in the English language, and yet the native speaker, advanced or educated native speaker, knows 20,000 of them, and that's plenty enough. So this another interesting point is that it's the 80-20 rule, right? The top 2,000 words actually give you 80% coverage. So if you know the top 2,000 words, then your vocabulary power will cover 80% of what people actually use. So of the 100,000 words in English, educated speakers know 20,000, but they use the top 2,000 80% of the time. So the top 2,000 cover 80% of daily usage. Let that sink in. Top 2,000 are important. So how many English words do you need at a minimum? Well, the top 2,000 will give you 80% of all text, so that's kind of an intermediate level, and it's pretty good. But 5,000 would give you 95% coverage, and that would be getting closer to advanced. So again, top 2,000 cover 80% of what people use every day, and the top 5,000, if you know them ranked in order of the top 5,000, that will cover 95% of what people use every day. What if you know the top 9,000? Well, then you get 98% coverage. So here's an interesting point. Of the 100,000 English words, the top 9% give you 98% coverage. So of 100,000 words, the top 9% cover 98% of what you need. So vocabulary coverage is a key factor in knowing about how to teach and learn vocabulary. And so you can see here a chart that shows you high frequency words, mid frequency words, and then lastly low frequency words. And you can see that the high frequency words of 1 to 1,000 cover 75% of all texts. And the next 1,000 level band, it's only 8.92% of the coverage that you need. But these two top bands give you between 80 and 85. And the reason why the numbers are different is because spoken language is even more common than we use more high frequency words in spoken language than we use in written language. But you can imagine a problem where a student might study, there's just the green zone. For example, in Japan, studying for university entrance exams, students might focus on these difficult words and still have many, many gaps in the yellow zone, right? So if you know the 7,000 words in the green zone, the mid frequency, you're only going to know 10% of the words that people use all the time. You can see that the 8,000, 9,000 level band only gives you 0.24% coverage of all texts. So you need to get the top words first, and that's basically the key point here. Learn the top words first. Teach the top words first. And you can see this from Rob Waring 2007, how this works on a practical basis. So the word like is ranked number 50 in the English language. To meet it 1 time, you need to read 225 words. To meet it 5 times, you need to read 1,127 words. And to meet it 10 times, you only need to read 2,253 words. And 10 is the magic number because on average, If you meet a word 10 times, you will learn it incidentally. You can see these other words here. Intent, to meet it 10 times, you need to read 140,000 words. And stumble, ranked as 2,000, you need to read 230,000 words. And here's the kind of clincher. Relativity is ranked 10,000th, so it's one of the low frequency words. To meet it 10 times, you need to read 6 million words. And so this shows you how vocabulary works and why it is important to learn and study and teach the top words first. And this idea of vocabulary coverage and high frequency vocabulary relates to the topic of extensive reading. Because in extensive reading, we grade materials, make them easy for learners. We take out the middle frequency or the lower frequency words, and we replace them with high frequency words so that learners can understand and learn new words from context. But we make sure that there are not too many new words to learn, and I'll show you how that works. So what is ER? ER stands for extensive reading, and I like to call it a reading bee. The word bee has a sort of rare nuance, which means a communal activity that we do for enjoyment, like a spelling bee or a quilting bee, where people get together and make quilts. So with reading, we commune with authors, we commune with story characters, and we commune with other readers. So let's say if you had a time machine, who would you want to meet? It would be interesting to meet Benjamin Franklin. He was an amazing guy. He's on the $100 bill in America, and he founded a university, the University of Pennsylvania. He wrote some amazing books. He was a scientist. He helped discover electricity. It would be great to meet him, but I can't because he's dead, right? But actually, I can meet him through his writing. I can meet his mind. And so in a sense, we commune with authors as we read their books. Also with story characters, Harry Potter or The Hobbit. We meet them. We care about them. Oh, no, be careful, Harry Potter. We care about characters. We meet them. We commune with them as we read. And then as we read books and other people read the same books, we talk to them. Hey, did you read that? That was amazing, wasn't it? Oh, my God, did you see that part? And you share a community with other readers as well. So with reading, big reading, it's a communal activity where we commune with authors, characters, and other readers. And I like to use the word be because it gives me these three key words: big, easy, and enjoyable. So I want to say in the most simple and elemental sense that extensive reading is big, easy, and enjoyable. So what do I mean? First of all, a few books, easy books, is not big. It's good to read a few books. It's good to read 10,000 words. You'll learn something. That's not a bad thing. But if you really want to do big reading, I think the threshold, the beginning of big reading, starts at 300,000 words. And this is from the research of Hitoshi Nishizawa, Yoshioka, and Fukuoka in 2010. And basically with 300,000 words, you've broken through the threshold. You can start to measure the results, students start to get confidence, and they stop this translation back and forth between their native language and English. And Nishizawa Sensei also says, and this is kind of new information, that if you read 2 million words, it can actually equal the same as study abroad, as 1 year of study abroad. So think about that. 2 million words, it's like a simulation of life abroad for 1 year. And Nishizawa Sensei says this result has been shown on standardized tests, something like the TOEIC, for example. So big, easy reading is big. And, you can read a little bit, and that's great. But if you read a lot, you get big benefits. It's also easy. It needs to be easy, and this is where vocabulary comes into play. What percentage of the words in a text do we need to know to read easy? Well, I've heard many learners and teachers say 70%, and that's not right. So take a look at what 70% looks like. Two welles were loudering through the bants. As they loudered, they waned the beautiful colors. They gipped to the buttles of the wind in the bloons. But then everything became kype. The welles nimmed around. They frined that something Jarvis was going to plume. Then all of a sleet and a big black stace came out of the bants. The stace adair up and made a great buttle. For a thibe, the welles didn't move. They just adair their chund. Then one of them holt. He holt a jay and got up a nearby bloon. He was duffening only about his dowricks. So these red words are fake. Nobody can understand this text or barely understand it. So if you are reading a text and you know 70% of the words, you're in trouble. So let's go to the next slide. And so easy means knowing 95 to 90% of the words. So you can guess the new words from context. So for example, 2 men or loudering through the woods. As they loudered, they enjoyed the beautiful colors. So what does louder mean? And many students will say it means go, move, walk, and so forth, and that would be correct. We can guess the meaning of a word from context when we know 95 to 98% of the words around it. And so big, easy reading is easy. And it's also enjoyable. We need to make it so that it's not too hard, and that, of course, makes it more enjoyable if it's not too difficult. We also want to think about extrinsic benefits. So if it's helpful information, nonfiction, maybe it teaches you about how to be happy, how to be successful, how to be healthy, how to make money. These are extrinsic benefits, and that can be enjoyable, especially the results. Intrinsic rewards are the strongest ones. Fiction is a kind of playful reading. Reading fiction is a kind of playful reading where reading is its own reward. And so we can say that pleasure reading is a form of play. Well, when you do this, you get results. And this is from Benico Mason, 2014. This is an actor's picture who represents a real person named Kenta. Search on Google for Benico Mason and Kenta, and you'll find the results of the study. But here's the key summary, the takeaway. Kenta's TOEIC jumped from 625 to 795. He gained 175 points, 0.87 points for every hour of reading. And so we can see that big reading isn't just fun. It doesn't just help you make money or learn how to be successful or learn how to be happy or learn how to be healthy. It also improves your language skills. It gives you verbal intelligence. And that is why people say that it is probably the best way thing you can do to help yourself learn English or learn a foreign language or teach a foreign language. So what is the best way to improve how you teach or learn? Dr. Paul Nation says, add an extensive reading program to what you do. He calls it a cornerstone of any well-thought-out language course. Think about your individual language learning course. What's the best way you can improve how you study English? Do extensive reading, do big reading. You're a teacher. What's the best way you can improve your class, how you teach it? Start doing extensive reading with your students. You're the head of a school, and you have 40 English teachers at your school. What's the best way all of your teachers can improve the way they teach? Help them fall in love with the power of big, easy reading. You're in charge of the whole educational system in your country. What's the best way you can improve the way you teach English in your nation? Is to have all your teachers, all your educators, all your principals fall in love with the idea that big reading works. It's powerful, it's fun, it's enjoyable, it gets results, and it puts the right emphasis on education, not about passing tests and exams, but about a lifestyle and a love of learning. And so it's a cornerstone to any well thought out language course. So why is it a cornerstone? Well, there's no time to share all the details, but Dr. Stephen Krashen says it's the best supported technique we have in the field of second language pedagogy. Dr. Paul Waring says it's a completely indispensable part of any language program. Maybe you could throw away some things. Maybe you could throw away grammar translation method or almost get rid of audiolingual approaches. But you cannot get rid of extensive reading. It's indispensable. We need it in every program. And so as Dr. Nation says, Paul Nation says, big reading works as the most important improvement that a teacher can make to a language course. The most important improvement a student can make to his or her plan for how to improve her English study. The most important improvement a school district, a national government educational center, the best way, the most important way to improve how you teach foreign languages. Add extensive reading to your programs. So that is all I have today. I think I talked too fast. Sorry about that. But thank you for listening.